Alright, so when it comes to My Hero Academia theories, at least for right now, Dabi is kind of like our poster boy, and for good reason. Honestly, his character has pretty much been a tease since he first appeared, and the evidence of him once belonging to the Todoroki family just continues to pile up. So although we've yet to receive proper confirmation of our suspicions, what I want to try and convince you of with this video is a little different. Because instead of speculating whether or not Toya became Dabi, I want to figure out how Toya became Dabi. With this one, we'll be using evidence from up to chapter 252 of the manga, so if you don't want to be spoiled, your chance to leave is now. And with that, we can now begin our Quirk operation theory. So as we should all by now know, more than anything, Endeavor sought to produce an offspring capable of surpassing him. A child with a quirk well beyond the capabilities of his own. To that end, he partook in a quirk marriage with Rei Todoroki in an attempt to combine his fire quirk with her ice one. But much to his dismay, such efforts wouldn't truly work out until they had their fourth child, Shoto. Now the thing about quirks is that many of them, especially emitter types, are not inherently identifiable, which is to say that in the case of a fire and or ice-based quirk, Endeavor wouldn't have been able to deem them a success or a failure immediately. And this is made evident by the respective ages of his children. First we have Fuyumi at 23, next there's Natsuo at 19, and finally, 3 years later, there's Shoto, who is currently 16. With their respective birth months in mind, December, July, and January, and the story now taking place just past the new year, it would seem that each child was granted a 3-year observation window. Now with Toya being the first child, subsequently, he was also the first failure. However, I presume his condition differed from that of Fuyumi and Natsuo, as although their quirks have not been explicitly stated, treating Todoroki's half red and half white hair as a visual basis of equity and balance may by extension aid in our deductions. With Fuyumi and Natsuo being particularly susceptible to heat and their hair being predominantly white, we may assume their quirks to be more inclined towards ice rather than fire. This of course poses Toya to be quite the anomaly, as contrary to the anime's inaccurate portrayal, he had white hair. Yet when speaking of him, Endeavor denoted Toya's quirk to be capable of fire well beyond his own in terms of power, which is to say that Toya took after his father in terms of his quirk, but mirrored his mother when it came to composition, causing him to be too frail. And when this was deduced, Endeavor moved on to the next one, and so on and so forth. So why is it believed that Endeavor killed Toya? A sentiment shared by Natsuo and even Endeavor himself. We know that Toya was able to play with Fuyumi and Natsuo while Shoto was kept from them, so he was fine then. And a medical vulnerability to his quirk certainly wouldn't be such a clear-cut indication of foul play on Endeavor's part. And at that, I definitely have a difficult time believing Endeavor literally murdered his son. Because for as abusive and aggressive as Endeavor may be, there is no way he wouldn't be in prison or publicly tarnished with how strongly his family feels towards his acts of the past. Not only that, but with the appearance of the villain ending, it's profusely expressed to us that under no circumstances does a hero kill. So with a no-kill policy, coupled by definitive intentions for his children, I'm under the impression that upon a second attempt to use Toya, Endeavor's acts led to his death in a way that was not at all incriminating. Now, taking a quick look at Dabi, he looks patched up, scarred up, and stitched back together, with each of his striations mirroring the bodily locations of Endeavor's flames, potentially alluding to a medical procedure revolving around Endeavor's visage gone horribly wrong. And on account of the dehorned news reporter and cases like Ares, things such as quirk therapy and operations are definitely present within this world. In fact, Shigaraki is actually undergoing one right now. So between Shoto refusing to use the fire half of his quirk and Rei's poor physical and mental states making the conception of another child a futile effort, it's possible that in his desperation, Endeavor yet again looked to his firstborn son and his unstable potential. and in an effort to augment Toya's strength and powers, led to the death of his son. But maybe not completely. Despite having possessed no criminal record prior to his joining of the League of Villains, Dabi was entranced by the ideals of Stain and further sought to see them come to fruition. And this is his foremost motivation. But why? For someone with no criminal record to have such strong feelings towards the issue of ingenuine heroes, I'd imagine they would have had to feel the burn of such a system firsthand. It's made apparent to us in his fight against Katen the Iceman, formerly of the Liberation Army, that prolonged use of his quirk causes him bodily harm. Which is to say that although the intensity of his flames may have been further magnified to the point of turning blue, and he can hold his own in a fight when pushed far enough, the issues which once plagued him still remain to an extent. For Dabi, what was believed to be his death may have been a chance for a new lease on life that he could not pass up. But in seeing the intensity and ferocity of Stain, something enough to make Endeavor stagger back, something ignited within him, giving him a new way to use that life. For me, at this point, the fun is in the details. The revelation of Toya and Dabi being the same and or connected may have lost its spark by now, but nevertheless, I'm sure the process to which led to such a point will still be major enough to blow us all away. Hopefully you enjoyed our take on all this, and if you did, let us know along with any other thoughts you might have. It always feels like the moment we get some light shown on the darker side of the Todoroki family or Dabi, things are shut down as soon as they get really good and really informative. So hopefully we won't have to play this game for much longer and finally get the answers we deserve. But with that, thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.